Missed it. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm Rodd Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Oh, shoot. I hit fade to black. I'm trying to get a little bit better at the incoming. I got some advice to not shock people so well with my ugly face here and just kind of fade to black back in. But I missed the button. So welcome to Insights and Straight Talk with Rodd Duff and producer Barbie. You know what? If you're joining us live, welcome in. Come on, have a seat. Grab a seat anywhere. We're here for you. If you're watching later, you're still on time because today's conversation, honestly, lives right at the intersection of something a lot of people are feeling, but not always hearing named, okay? We live in a moment where opportunity is talked about constantly, right? I mean, but access feels thinner than ever. Everyone's selling freedom, remote work, side hustles, AI, entrepreneurship, yet at the same time, people are more cautious and overwhelmed and more unsure of their next move than they've been in decades, right? That's not a motivation problem, right? That's a navigation problem. Most people don't fail because they lack drive. They stall because they lack clear mentorship, real exposure, and honest pathways that don't come wrapped in hype. That's why today's guest matters, because instead of becoming another voice telling people what they should do, Daman Grewal, I forgot to ask you that, by the way. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Daman? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Okay, so not a great one there. We're going to work on that name. We had a little technical thing go on, so we got a little bit of a late start. I'll get his name correct. I'm Daman. That's how you say it, right?
Like a gray wall.
All right, say it again.
So Daman, and then you can say gray wall, like a gray color wall.
Oh,
so gray wall.
Got it. All right, perfect. All right, that's who we're going to be talking to today. That was a little. I told them right before we went on, don't worry, we're not aesthetically perfect. Well, Daman Grewal, there it is. Along with his partners and his team, they built something pretty special. All right, they built something practical for what people can do. Daman didn't grow up with a roadmap. He didn't inherit some network. He didn't have someone sitting across the table explaining how opportunity actually works. So he set out intentionally to build the platform he wished existed when he himself started out. Together with his partners and team, he helped launch logisticssales.com as a free sales and entrepreneurship mentoring platform designed to give people real access, skills, guidance, and opportunity without paywalls or gatekeeping. This isn't theory. This isn't hustle culture. It's sales as dignity, sales as agency, sales as one of the last honest ladders of upward mobility, skill, accountability, choice, repetition. That philosophy aligns deeply with the work we highlight here at Insights and Straight Talk, whether it's through the community partners like the Mangum City Library here, the intergenerational conversations happening through Voices at the Table, or the Leaf Lab powered Regeneration School project, where systems thinking, education, and real-world application meets. Sure, different lanes, same belief that people rise faster and steadier when access, mentorship are all real. So today we're going to talk with Daman Grewal about a few things. How opportunity actually works on the ground, why sales still matters in an AI-shaped economy, what it takes to build mentorship at scale with teams, not with egos, and what financial freedom looks like when it's built, not just promised. This isn't a hype conversation. It's a clarity conversation. And with that, let's bring Daman in. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Rodd. Thank you for having us and or having me on board. And thank you for the introduction. And basically, again, Logistics Sales is a platform that we created, which is a free platform, simply just to show people that anyone can do sales with any background. There's no specific educational background that you need. There's no discrimination here when it comes to communication and sales. Anyone can do it. And we can just say that, we would want to pretty much give people hope that anyone can have financial freedom if they're willing to put the work into it and follow us and see that journey. We try to make it really simple for people so that they see that everyone has opportunities, and it doesn't have to be complex as, I need to go develop the next AI technology, or I need to get on the latest edge of the trends that are happening today. It's a matter of, what do you like, right? What do you see around?
Hey, let me ask you this, and I want to get back into this because I want to see how this actually works, and how you can continue to do it with it being free. Obviously, there's more involved, but how did you originally choose sales? Like, I know why I did, and people tend to be drawn towards a job or a type of industry because of personality and that. How did you first get into sales? And then I understand that when you first started out, you didn't have a mentor. I unfortunately, this kind of happened pretty quick. It kind of went really quick, so I didn't get to do as much of a scrape, I call it, where we scrape information and data and information. So I'd like to hear more about how that works and how your business survives and how that model looks, from the 30,000 foot view. But before that, how did you get into sales?
It was by accident. Yeah, I think a lot of these,
usually what happens.
Yeah, so all of us, I think, got into it by accident. The other co-hosts I have at Logistics Sales as well, and the mentors that we have there. But it just happens when you're at a job, and yeah, I mean, one of the logical steps is, well, we need customers, and how do we keep our jobs, and how do we get the flow of money to come in to be able to operate? And so that's, it's by accident. I started off as a safety manager within a transportation company. And then I went from safety manager into dispatching and helping run operations in a trucking company. And I realized, hey, if we want to do this properly, we're going to have to go out and grab our own customers. And we can't just rely on different freight brokers and third-party people to do our sales for us. How do we get into this ourselves and just break through that whole barrier of, people telling us that, hey, you have to work with us, and that's just the way the industry works, instead of us going directly to the client and saying, hey, well, we could present ourselves, and we're pretty confident that we could do the service because we were already doing the service. And so a lot of people in life are putting barriers on us that don't necessarily need to be there. And so that's what we, again, try to teach everyone and say, hey, you know what, anyone can do this. Like, stop telling people that stop listening to people telling you that you can't. And it simply just starts with that mindset of saying, hey, how can I go out and become the best version of myself? Or how can I become better? Whether it's, whatever you want to attain, whether you want to get into great health, whether you want to go attain financial freedom, but whatever way or whichever direction you want to move in, is just taking those barriers off and being able to just say, hey, I'm allowed to be a free person, and I'm allowed to have choices. And that's what we want to show people always is, it's a choice. And so growing up, one thing that I always wished that I had was someone to kind of just show me the way. Because for me, I didn't have a good financial background. We grew up on social assistance. So I had, I grew up with a single mom, single parent. And yeah, so, so many barriers put against me. I'm a colored person, so I got discrimination, right? Growing up as well. So unfortunately,
What is ethnicity are you? You said colored person. You look like you just have a good tan going on.
I'm a tan person. I'm, again, I was born and raised in Canada, but at the same time, my mom came from India. And,
Gotcha.
and so, yeah, so definitely, we kind of heard some of the slangs growing up. Yeah, go back to your home country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Really?
Yeah. So, and that's like,
That's too bad.
again, early 80s type of thing, right? And so some of that stuff kind of existed way better now, right? I don't see as, again, these are programs that will potentially prevent you from living your true life, right? And whatever program people are going to try to throw your way, it's about clearing that away, and that's it. So, again, growing up, I always wanted someone to kind of just show me the way, because I was very eager to work. And being on social assistance, I wasn't really allowed to work when I was younger, because my mom was always, had that as security and saying, hey, you know what, you gotta wait, because and she worked 2 jobs, so it wasn't like she really needed the social assistance. And so I saw what hard work looked like, and I just thought, that's not the way that I want to live. I don't want to be doing 2 full-time jobs. How can I earn one income that could potentially give me that freedom? So watching a lot of that, it was just all a matter of, well, can someone just show me the way of how I could get ahead? And it was really hard to find, because for me, I didn't have money saved up for a college education or for a university education. And I was like, okay, I need to get a job to be able to earn. And the job that I ended up into I eventually ended up into trucking. I did a couple of jobs before that, worked at a mill, worked at a gas station, some of the regular jobs that we do. And, from there, it was all about, okay, how do I move forward? Right. So sometimes it's almost like you're living paycheck to paycheck. And so then it's like, okay, well, the first year I worked full time, and I was telling my employer that, hey, I just want to save enough money to go to school. And that's my whole purpose of being here. And I was getting paid almost minimum wage at the time. And I'm like, well, nothing's really adding up in my bank account. So I figured, okay, if I work for a year, I'll be able to save enough money to go to school. And my schooling at that point was only based on some of the smaller scholarships that I had to go to school. But then when those ran out, you kind of got to figure out a way. And so you go through some of those, those tough roads. It's a matter of, okay, well, I'm still trying to compound this money. And then I got to realize that, okay, the minimum wage job wasn't doing it. Okay, so let me upgrade. Now I'm going to have to make an ask for more money, or try to find a job that pays a little bit more, because this wasn't working. And so, you kind of go through the ropes, and, after bad employer, after bad employer, after bad employer, I did pick up a lot of skill sets from the way, but then it was a matter of just, going into entrepreneurship and realizing that entrepreneurship was actually the gateway that really kind of took off. And, similar, we were having this conversation, Rodd, as well, was, once you get into this independent role, whether it's sales or entrepreneurship, it's hard to go back to being an employee again. And so we learn lessons along the way, and then we realize, if something works and something works really well, then we're not likely to go back. But then now it allows us to see what opportunity actually looks like, and what choices actually looks like, instead of us having to ask an employer for a raise and always, being scrutinized or opening ourselves up for judgment and allowing someone else to dictate what we're able to earn. Once we realized that that was actually in our own hands from the beginning, and that, as long as we found opportunities and found that we have choice, it just opens us up for so many options. And then you could choose, do I want to be an employee? Do I want to choose an entrepreneurship route, or do I want to choose a route where I could get unearned income? Or sorry, not unearned, but untapped amount of income, right? Uncapped income. And so just knowing that, it allows you to make a choice. And I think just that choice gives you a sense of relaxation. And that's what I want for everybody else too, is, like right now, the stats that I looked up, 46% to 61% of people in North America live paycheck to paycheck. And in the US, they said, 25% of households are living paycheck to paycheck. And even when we talk about housing, right, 50% of Gen Z generation is thinking that housing is just unaffordable or unattainable for us. And so
Sure.
when we have all these problems, in North America, which is one of the most abundant countries and places in the world, then we're saying, okay, well, hey, we have a problem here that needs a solution. And then that solution is showing people like, hey, you know what? We all have a choice, right? We don't have to get caught up in a system that's going to dictate, how long it's going to take for me to build a 401k. We don't need to be stuck in a system where we have to wait for people to eventually leave their jobs for us to escalate different higher positions, right? And I think, that old school kind of mindset of you have to wait 20 years in a job to get to the top level position. I mean, you could do that today. You could do that, in a 4-year plan, a 5-year plan. And that's typically how long it takes to build any business is that 4 to 5 years. And so, what we want to just show people is like a small step can compound into bigger steps down the road. And if you're willing to take that small step, and that's what we want to help people with, is just that small step, that one that just allows them to see what those opportunities look like and know that there's opportunities all around them, and then be able to make that decision for themselves. And if they need help, then we want to interact with you to be able to guide you and say, okay, well, one is how to identify opportunities. And I can give a little example of this as well. So if people kind of want to get the concept of this, but for example, if you have a phone, laptop, or anything, open up just Google Maps and then zoom out just a little bit and look in like maybe a 10-block radius of where you are. And a lot of times what you're going to see is even some of the houses have company names written on top of them. I'm not sure if you've ever seen this, Rodd, but if you zoom out on Google,
I've done that a lot actually. And you can actually, in some of the databases now, you can actually tie that in, and it'll, like, say you're going to make sales calls in a region, and it'll pull up the companies around you that you may or may not know. But on houses as well.
On houses as well, yeah. There's a lot of people that run, like, whether it's like accounting office, home. Some people have engineering companies. Some people have. You'll be surprised, like barber shops running from home, right? Beauty salons running from home.
True.
And so you'll start seeing the names pop up, and you'll be surprised at the type of companies that show up. But again, this is all to expand the mind, to say, oh, wow, hey man, people are running businesses all around me. So in the U.S., there's 35 million small businesses in the U.S. currently.
Nice.
So
is that up or down? Do you know if, I'm just curious, because small businesses is, at least to America, as a foundation or as a talking point, whatever, small businesses have always been touted. Do you know if that number is up or down from the past? Do you know offhand or no?
Well, I think the number is slightly increasing. So it was just slightly below 35 million in 2024. And I think the Q3 in 2025 was slightly over 35 million, 35.2.
So it is on a trajectory that way, and that could be from a number of different things. Large companies laying off and or people seeing opportunity and because the economy is driving it. It happens both directions, right? Or it can't. So let me ask you this. So first of all, before I ask you what I was going to ask, do you know Centurion Trucking Inc.?
Yes, I do. That's one of the companies that I'm actually a founder in as well.
All right, so one of your folks are on here. I saw that. But what I was going to ask is, all right, let's say you said yourself there, you're looking to help people in that first small step. So what does it look like? I'm in the audience. I'm listening to what's going on. We got some questions starting to come in now, but we've got well over 200 people on already. That's pretty quick. So you're speaking to some people who obviously for either of those directions have an interest in this topic. But let's say, okay, I want to make a change I need to make a change in my life for A, B, C, or D reason. And so I'm listening to this. I take down your information and I give you guys a holler back. I'm connecting with you now. I'm reaching out to you now. What happens from there? What does it look like? What does this motion look like? Let's kind of get people. I mean, they're here for a reason because of your program, and we do a lot of marketing. Not as much as I wish I could have this time because it happened so quick. But what do you say to that? What does it look like? What does it look like when somebody's coming to you? How does the program work? Let's dive into that a little bit.
Okay, so what we tell people typically is take a look at the YouTube videos that we're putting out on our website and subscribe to that first. Start taking a look at
give me the website again. Give me the website again.
logisticsales.com.
Got it.
And
just like your email.
Just like the email. So take a look at the website. In the first episode, what we're trying to do is just kind of show you what opportunities exist in sales. The first couple, 2-3 episodes, we're just trying to take you through a journey just to see, does this resonate with you? And so one of the first graphs that we try to show people is the difference between employee and entrepreneurship. And so the employee line kind of goes almost steady like this. So this is, again, what I call as being in the matrix, is you're kind of given a pathway that you're slowly doing small increments in life. And so what entrepreneurship does, the line starts a little bit lower because you're usually starting for free is what entrepreneurship looks like. But then usually about the 18-month or the 20-month period, now the line starts to meeting you over at the employee line. But then all of a sudden it starts to skyrocket this way. While this line is still staying here, entrepreneurship has the ability to kind of skyrocket you up here. And so it's saying, okay, well, hey, does that appeal to me? Do I want to, maybe which line do I want to be on? And you could be on both. You don't necessarily have to choose, but you could also choose both. It's a choice, right? So again, telling people that they have choices. And so what we're trying to do is just kind of expose them to those opportunities. And then the second episode, what we're doing is kind of like the example I was telling you about, is we teach them how to even just look at and say, okay, well, how do I know what opportunity do I want? Right? How do I know what my interests are? There's a, how do I start? We're not asking you to start a business, right? What we're saying is, hey, maybe just open up this. Our job is just to open up your mind. And then we're and that's what we want to do first, is just show people that they have a choice. And what choice does, it eliminates anxiety, eliminates stress. And then now you know that, hey, you know what? No one else is controlling your life. It's you. We want you to know that, hey, you know what? This is just one option. And this is just to make you start thinking about what opportunities exist that you may not have been open to in the past. And so that's all we want to do in the beginning, is just take you through that journey. But then we could take you as far as you want to go, ideally. And as far as I can take you is as far as I've been, which is, again, doing entrepreneurship. I've done hundreds of millions of dollars of sales, built teams. Again, so we could do that journey as well. And that's something that we were doing worldwide. And we were helping people across, different continents, different countries. We're doing it locally here. We're doing it in the US. So anywhere, like it's possible from anywhere and from any background. And I can kind of give you a couple different examples of this as well. So
please do. Yeah. I'm really trying to see how this program kind of unfolds. And I'm hearing, so you're basically walking through a step-by-step process, sort of, not yet, not quite that, but your first step is just saying, hey, you have choices. You have empowerment. You have the ability to make a change. And here's all you got to do to start. And that's basically making a decision, but more importantly, kind of thinking, living your own life, living your life out loud, so to speak, thinking, okay, what would I want to do next? And we talk a lot about that on this show. And it's crazy because what you just said is why it's so tough to make that decision for so many people is because of our educational system. I mean, our system, I assume, I don't know, is similar to yours in Canada, but that's why we do the Regeneration School project here in Mangum. We are in the process of building a pilot program that has a 5th core subject, which, well, let's call it life for now, just a placeholder. Everything else, but school teaches you how to memorize, how to take tests, and math, English, science. It's great. That's awesome. But it really kind of moves people into the worker mentality. We need support. We need the leaders, the entrepreneurs, the visionary, the vision, and then we need the backbone, the people that do the work, right? Just like the middle class, the great middle class of America. You have leaders in the government, and you have the great middle class is the backbone, the economic system of the industrial infrastructure, all of that, right? Same thing in a company. But our school system, people break out, like yourself, people break out, but it drives, doesn't it? Or do you believe this? It drives people to be that more work. We've got almost 400 people on that worker mentality. Isn't that? And that's what you're kind of rebuilding. It's kind of like we're aligned here, right? And so continue on with what you're saying. But what do you think about the school systems in general? Am I on something there?
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to complement the school system. The school system is like a foundation, and so the more education, the more skills that you can develop, you're building your foundation. But once you have a foundation, it's like, okay, well, what do I want to build on top of that foundation? And that's kind of where we're coming into, right? We're at that beginner level of saying, okay, well, let's start looking at what can we create now if we have this foundation in place. And the foundation, and it's not the fault, right? Because a lot of the teachers, they haven't built businesses. They haven't, experienced the entrepreneurship. You have, Rodd, right? So again, you're a great speaker for this. You're a great leader for this, because why, the question would be back, why wouldn't you go back to being an employee? Right? But that's
a really good question. And I couldn't be an employee. I couldn't.
Why?
I'd be a horrible employee.
Why?
Because I wouldn't. Great question back at me. Great way to throw it back at me. That's fair. The reason I said that, and now I'm rethinking it, it depends on the leader that I would have, right? My boss, because I would be, to answer your question, why, off the top of my head, because I've already tasted the honey. You know what I mean? You know what I mean by that, right? I've been an employee and was a fine employee and was good enough to, hey, I can do this. I've got a better way to do this. I'm going to make my own thing. And so I did and went from there. But I said I wouldn't be a good employee because, I'd want to be the boss, right? I'd want to. But if I have somebody that is a visionary that's guiding me and directing me, which we always need, but if that's the case, then that visionary would be building on top of that. A good leader would be building on top of that, right?
100%. And this is the whole reason we have logistics sales, is because we all are looking for somebody to carry us a little bit further up. We all want that visionary person to say, hey, you know what? This is what I was looking for as a kid. Is I just want someone to just hold my hand and say, hey, man, I got you. Let me take you up a little bit further here. And that's what we all just want to. That's what I want to be for everybody. Whoever I can be. And that's kind of why we created the logisticssales.com platform, is to be able to lift people up, to give them that little encouragement so they can get past that fear. And that's the thing, is like, whenever you're going to take that chance in life or do something new, there's a certain level of fear that's preventing us from moving forward. And so what we're trying to do is just take away the fear. And the 20 plus years that I've been teaching sales, the only thing that I've ever really taught is how to get rid of some of these programs or fears that we have, so you could at least move forward. And again,
sorry to interrupt. Like I said before, let's hover here for a minute, right where you are, and add some color to the layers. Sure. So when you're taking away the fear, that's the initial, that's the opening. I came to you just now and we're starting a program. There's a lot of questions about your program on here, by the way. And I'll get to Jennifer's in a second, Jennifer Carter here in a second. But when I first come to you, like you said, teachers haven't necessarily had a business, or somebody that was a first responder, never ran a bus. Somebody coming out of the military, that's a good one. That hasn't necessarily created a business before, and that's a different skill set, right? Than going in and being trained to a job. Now it's a different skill set than that kind of effect. So the fear being, I've never done this. Can I do this? That's the first thing so that's the first step. That's where you're that first video is opening up ideas. And then from there, you're taking away the fear. Yes?
Yeah, opening up ideas. Yes, yeah, for sure. And then so what we're also doing is we're displacing the myths about sales.
Okay.
So again, there's a big misconception about sales. There's a big misconception about entrepreneurship. And so we also do that in the beginning too, because nowadays too, like when it comes to sales doesn't even have to involve a phone call. Phones, marketing is all about imagery. If I could post my own post on Facebook or social media, that means I know how to do sales. If I know customer service, I know how to do sales. I'm probably already doing it. And some of the skill sets that you mentioned, whether you're in the military, well, if you're in the military and you have logistics skills as it is, you have a very, you have good discipline and grit. If you're a teacher, now you have teaching skills. Imagine the communication skills that teachers have. Imagine now learning how to monetize that to create different opportunities, or how you can leverage that in different businesses to be able to help other businesses out. And teachers have a lot of time. I mean, my kids are in school and they literally only go to school for 200 days out of the year. They're almost half. There's so many holidays for teachers that what are you doing for the other, 150 days plus out of the year? You have a lot of opportunities to be able to venture out.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's looking at skills that people already have and saying, how can I apply this to something else and like a different vertical? But, and what we try to teach people too is like, you just need to be yourself. First of all, be comfortable being yourself. You are enough to be able to be authentic, right? That's it. Have a regular conversation with somebody. And this is the first example I was kind of going back with you, Rodd, was zoom out your map, see who's around your area. Just go knock on your neighbor's door and the one that has the name of a business on it.
Right.
Right. Just knock on their door and say you want to have a conversation, and have the conversation. Just ask, hey, you know what? I'm a little bit interested in business and notice that, you have one. Is it possible to just have a coffee and talk about your business and see if there's any sort of alignment where I could possibly help you and add value to your business? I don't need to get paid, but I just want to learn about what you actually do.
Ooh,
right?
Good idea.
That's a really good idea. So now let's look at the mindset of both people. Okay. So again, I want to get this out of the way too, which is every person wants to be able to earn a higher income, but also every business also wants to earn a higher income. Who wouldn't? Right? So you say, well, hey, we both have the same goal. How do we talk to each other and find some sort of alignment where we could both win together? And so this is what we're trying to teach, is we're trying to teach, businesses to open up and say, hey, you know what? Start trusting, or we'll help you as a business, provide opportunities for other people and help you structure it in a way where it's a win-win and you're not having to take the entire risk on. What's the biggest prevention for small businesses to grow is access to capital. And, sometimes you're only making enough to pay your own salary. But imagine, and they talk about this as well, but, once you can pair up with somebody, if you have two people in a business, you could do more than double the work, because now it's segmented. You try and do it all by yourself, you're going to have a very slow process. And so a lot of businesses will just handicap themselves because they're just not willing to make the investment to grow. And that's why so many businesses go out of business, right? I think only half of them may get past 5 years.
Right.
And then the ones that make it past 5 years, only a third of them make it to 10 years. And then beyond that,
I know it's a very small number. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, again, why do so many businesses go out of business? Because they're just unwilling to expand. And every business is limited to the thinking capacity of the owner. So when we talk about the vision of, same thing you brought up before, Rodd, was businesses, if the person's not visionary, the business is only going to get stuck here. It's never going to go anywhere. And what do you think is going to happen to your opportunities in life? Right? You're stuck with that business, right? Yeah, you got a ceiling on you too. So how do you break past that ceiling is when you start realizing, hold on, again, whose choice is this? Am I going to leave it up to this guy? Or do I realize that, hey, it's actually me that can choose, again, this is where school and education comes in too, because the more skills that I develop, the more I'm going to learn, the more that I can apply, and my thinking capability goes up, which allows more opportunities to come in. For example, right? If you learn computers, well, that's going to open you up for a lot more opportunities, right? If you learn communication skills, that's going to probably open you up for a lot more. Instead of just, being technical on the background, now you could be in the forefront because you have communication skills. So the more skills you add on are going to allow more doors of opportunity to open up for you. And so
let me ask you this. By the way, I didn't get to tell you this when and I noticed you hesitate. You're really good at stopping when I want to stop you. I appreciate that. But when I say click it, shouldn't have said that. The automation in this system for StreamYard, I just added this. But when I do that, it goes back like 30 seconds and it takes an AI clip of that section. So if you hear me say those two words together, just ignore me. I'm trying to say it low, but it creates some pretty cool AI videos. They'll be going out to all those social media. I told you who we stream to, right? All the different 5 people that we stream to, or 5 platforms that we stream to. Yeah. So Jennifer asked here, you were just talking about adding skills. This is specific to sales, but what skills matter most to someone brand new to sales, specifically in sales? What are those skill sets? I know this answer, but what is your answer to that?
Definitely, it's communication would be number one, and that's, again, it could be a slower process for that, depending on where you are with that. And it's just, again, getting comfortable with yourself, getting comfortable with clarity. And, I don't want to discourage anybody if you don't have the right skill, because no matter whatever level of skill level you are at, you will be able to do sales. And sales is something that, again, taking the whole stigma out of sales away too. We don't teach the Wolf of Wall Street type of sales. We want sales where you can face yourself in the mirror tomorrow and you're happy about the person that you see. And when we also teach sales, it's also out of service. How do I be in service to people rather than asking people for something? How can I be in service? It's a giving approach, not a taking approach, right? So again, it's a very different way of sales that we teach. Again, all the partners that are with me in logisticsales.com, we all come from a service giving first background. And that's the way that we say, and I was watching, for example, Mr. Beast yesterday. He's a super, super great example. His company now worth $5.2 billion, but he's done it all based on service, providing entertainment to people, giving away crazy amounts of money to people. And look, when you start giving, what do you think's happening? Now you're stacking, right? Because you're giving and you're realizing that, hey, this is actually a formula that, the more I learn how to, give from myself and add value to other people's lives, the more it seems to be coming back. Rodd, same with you. I mean, if you have 200 people online right now, that's a great way to give. 400 people. It's amazing, right? But it's your giving first, right? It's a giving way. But what's happening is, again, it fulfills our heart, and when we fulfill our heart, now we're vibrating at a higher level. And when we're vibrating at, that higher level, now we're connecting more with people, right? And so this is what, you're a great connector, Rodd. And this is something that, again, the reason you're probably doing this too is because it probably feels something right inside here that makes you just feel
100%.
amazing every day to be able to say, hey, I just want to add to people's lives. That's what I want to do.
Producer Barbie, she and I talk all the time. We've been together 20 some years, and we're not together, but we're better friends than partners, personal partners. But anyway, we were talking, God, must have been about a month ago or so. What you just said hit me because, I built a machinery business, started out as a manufacturer's rep, if you know what that term means. And through that was able to generate enough income to go buy a installation company, which I then turned into a machinery building business over the 30 years and then I wound it down. But she told me she made a comment one time and she said, Rodd, the machinery business you built, that was because of your ego. That's what drove that business. That's what drove the success that it had, but that's what drove it. This show is from love. You're doing it for love. This is your mission. And it's two different things. And you just hit home with what you were saying in that, because I am. This is a more of a giving effort. We've got 20,000 subscribers in a year and a half, 1.5 years. I started this September 17th in 2024. We just turned 2026, but more than halfway through the year in 24, we started our first show, and the message just caught on, and it's just blowing up like crazy. But it's because of the authenticity, right? I came to a point in my life where I needed to make a change because of some mental stuff, some things that were going on, and this whole fake thing all came off. I became more authentic, and I'm a different person now, and still doing sales and marketing, but from a different lens, from a different focus, from a different angle. And you're right, it does happen, and life does change. It's funny what you're saying. You talked about the vibration, the energy, right, in your body. It goes out 6 feet, right? The energy, and that changes when you change. So many of the messages you talk about are exactly. I'm glad to hear this. I'm glad to see this, because we use this. We're very aligned. It's more aligned than I thought we would be. You're going to say something.
Yeah, I just want to kind of go back, like even machinery sales. So that little shift, right, of saying, okay, how can I be in service here? How can I help other businesses succeed because of the machinery that I'm selling them? And again,
Correct.
when it becomes service based, instead of feeling the stress of, hey, I have to hit numbers, right? It could change the whole dynamic of that entire process of making, again, if there's a need for it, right? Again, we're trying to identify the need, and then we're also trying to say, okay, well, how can I help that guy succeed, right? Because if that guy's business takes off, right, then my machinery business is going to do really well too. And then how many more people can we get into this type of machinery, right? So depending on who your client base is, and also saying, okay, who do I need to educate maybe, right? Or how can I help people find more leverage with these machines to be able to earn more and to be able to generate more, right? So if I find those solutions, and this is kind of what we try to teach too, is let's take a look at the current audience or current customer base. Where can we expand? Is there different avenues? Can we look outside even our state? Can we look outside to different industries, right? What other verticals are there? And so, again, it's just expanding, right? Like we're becoming into a global marketplace. And for example, we had people that were like, there was a gentleman I was teaching in Bangladesh, and in Bangladesh, he was really good at writing emails, not so good in the English verbally, right? But he set up meetings with Home Depot in the US with their head office, and Target, which is one of the largest retailers in the US, multi-billion-dollar companies. And here's a guy that we're just kind of coaching from Bangladesh. And I jumped in with a meeting in Target with him. And, again, I took over a lot of that meeting as well. But at the end, he got his opportunity to speak, and then I was like, so when he's speaking, the English was very broken, right? His email skills, amazing, phenomenal, right? But when it comes to his verbal skills, definitely need a little bit of work on there. But you know what? The guy from Target was so intently listening to him that it didn't even matter how he was speaking, right? Because the messaging was there. And Target had already developed this idea of this person, of the company, of the brand prior to even having the meeting. And that's why they opened up for the meeting, right? But
Sure.
again, so when I look at these type of situations that I've been, physically a part of, who am I to pass judgment? Who am I to say that somebody can't do anything when I've been proven that they can? And again, that's what we try to teach with everything that we do, is that anyone can have a conversation. And it's just, what, if you don't have a fear filter, because you're making things bigger than they really are, and you don't realize that people are just human on the other side. And the guy from Target's wearing a hoodie, like we're in the meeting, he's wearing a hoodie, he's laid back, he's probably working from home, right? And it's just a normal person. And so you just, again, what are you making up in your mind when you think of one of the biggest retailers in the US and how corporate this guy must be and everything else? But then you're like, oh man, this guy's like so laid back. And you know what? Very professional, very humble, young kid. And yeah, it's just a conversation, because we're just trying to get to alignment. That's all it is. And if we can help each other, then it's a great fit.
I'm really I see this mentorship, this change of mindset that your journey, your message is on. It's interesting. It's very fascinating. And going with that, Branson here says, how does free mentorship actually work on your platform? Kind of where we started digging into this. Can you add to what you're talking about here now and kind of layer on top of that for Branson here for me?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I said, first steps, just take a look at a couple episodes, see if it resonates. After that, what we want to do is be able to help you have some of those conversations. So if you pick an industry that you want to maybe get involved with, and you're kind of stuck for, okay, who do I approach? What do I say to them? And how do I actually make this real? And so those are the questions that we want to be able to help you with. And that's just, again, you could either respond to one of our posts. You could try to get in touch with us. We'd love to have even a one-on-one. If you're open to us recording the meeting, then I'd love to have a 20-minute session of just saying, hey, you know what, how can we explore different opportunities? And again, no cost, right? 100% free.
Yeah.
I don't want to charge for anything, but I just want to be able to help you move to the next step. And the only thing I'm going to ask for in return is that if I'm able to help you, you help somebody else, right? Don't just
pay it forward, pay it kind of thing.
Yeah. You know what? And then it's about, like they always say, business is a spiritual game. And so if we believe in help thy neighbor, then I want to try to build communities where we're helping each other. And that's the main purpose behind it, is that how can we just, one, put our hand out first, let us be, that's the mentorship, right? The mentorship is, hey, let me pick you up first, right? Let me try to get you successful. But if I get you successful, hopefully you'll pick up 2 other people, right? Or at least one. And that's the one request that I always have is, hey, if I'm able to help you, help share this knowledge with somebody else and try to pick somebody else up, right? Because again, it's how do we build communities? How do we, and something that we keep seeing over and over again is that the larger corporations keep taking all the smaller to medium-sized corporations, and they're going to have monopolies on a lot of different businesses. And what that's going to do is it's going to keep the middle, the small guys out. But then what we want to do is try to build the small to medium-sized companies up, right?
Yes.
Is another kind of mission that we want to have. And again, realizing that these guys need help, because if they want to compete with these bigger companies, these guys are going to need some help. And so that's where we want to help you build those relationships with them and expand both of their minds, because the big guys already know how to do it. They could afford consultants. They have roadmaps. They already have the blueprints on how to scale and how to scale fast. They have outside money coming in, right? But again, how does a small guy do it? And so again, it's helping each other. When you help each
Yeah.
other, everybody succeeds. When you're creating barriers against each other, it's going to be a very hard time. So again, what we want to do is just allow you to have that conversation, allow you to think about, okay, what is it actually, like, what is sales? How can I help? Can I help in somebody's social media? Can I help in somebody with customer acquisition? Can I help them see different verticals? Can I help them get into different states even? Can I expand the territory? So again, what we help do is we'll evaluate the type of business that you're going to go into, and understanding again how their flows work.
Wow.
Or are they getting paid right away? Are they getting paid 30 days out, 60 days out? How does that work? Explain the cash flow. Because a lot of people are going to say, hey, I want more money. But if you don't understand how that money is being generated, for example, like, look at all the strikes that have happened in the US. I think there's, in the last since 2024, there's been 31 major strikes, which is people over, corporations over 1,000 people. And so a lot of people are looking and wanting more, but they don't really understand the mechanism behind that. Where is that money actually going to come from? And if the companies aren't able to generate, then how are they able to pay it? So again, if we create structures that, again, answer those questions and can have money flow coming in and then be able to disperse that between the people that are able to generate it, then you have win-win situations. Now the company can afford to do it, right? And the place of asking is not unreasonable, right? Unreasonable is when the coffers are topped off and there's nothing else coming in. So everyone's pulling at the same piece, trying to stretch it as far as possible, but it can't stretch, right? And there's another analogy. I'm not sure if you've heard of this one, Rodd, as well, but and this is something for like entrepreneurs to think about, is like, you could own 100% of a grape, or you could have 10% of a watermelon, right?
Watermelon.
Yeah, and you see how far 10% can go, right? And there's some of these stats about, what percentage was it that Steve Jobs actually owned of Apple?
Right.
But what was it worth? Right? So many people get used to holding the grape so hard that they just think that, if I let go of this, that's it. I'm done.
Good point. Excellent points. Excellent points. Yeah, we're really behind on questions, so I do want to make sure and hit on some of these before people start. I mean, we've already gone an hour. I mean, that went by really fast. To me, anyway, it seems like it's gone by really, really, really fast. But you start getting into an hour and a half or more, depending on the subject. Like, then all of a sudden people are, they're off their lunch or they're this or that. They got to come back and watch it. And I want to catch at least most of these questions before that number hits. It's kind of a thing. And we're going to step back a little bit and then go back further into where the subject you are here. But I didn't want to get too further down the road because David here is stuck on sales here. And can someone with no sales background succeed at logistics sales? We kind of talked about this earlier on in that, well, if you're a teacher, you already have these skill sets. If you're this person, you already have these skill sets and so forth. By the way, I had the roofing company that is roofing this library, which is, like I said, only 20 or so feet above me, take a lunch break. So, and you won't be able to hear it, but I might have a little bit of challenge because my mic and all that stuff, it cancels, technology today is really good. And so if I'm acting a little, say that again, be patient with me because hopefully we'll get this done before 2:30, before they get too loud. But can somebody with no sales background, we already talked about this a little bit, but can they succeed in logistics sales?
100%. Yeah. I mean, again, having some good mentorship definitely helps because you don't want to, and then this is the thing too, is I want everyone to do sales with integrity, right? And integrity just means having the right mentor to be able to make sure you're not over promising, under delivering, right? We don't want to harm anybody.
That's the worst thing in the world. Well, not only that, but you lose business too. I mean, you've got to, I always used to say, overpromise and deliver. You've got to, whatever it is that you're promising, though, to your point, which is a better point. But, you do that once or twice, and then the reputation goes around, and, you've got to, great point. Say that again.
For sure. I mean, again, we want to do it with integrity and making sure that, for me, it's always make sure no one gets harmed in the process. And we're not, again, saying things just to get the sale, but it's all about, again, learning the product, learning the service, making sure that whatever we say we're going to do, we actually deliver on. And this is, a big part of the only way that I say sales should actually exist is don't lead people on. But, again, going back to, do you need a background in sales? No, you don't, and I'll give you an example as well. We have again, one of the good success stories that I want to share is, we had a guy that came on with us that was in HR, and in HR, he was at a job where, again, it wasn't really using his talents, and the person had quite a bit of talent, right? But they were at a job where, again, the boss wasn't the greatest. It didn't allow him to expand or to be able to move into what he wanted to do, and didn't feel good being in that job. And again, a lot of reasons that we leave jobs is because just our manager or boss just isn't what we want them to be. This is what leads to entrepreneurship. Right. This is what leads to change, is when we hit roadblocks and we just don't feel good at where we want to be, then we're looking to make changes. And so this person came into logistics, and it did take a while. Again, talking about that chart that we have in our first episode shows you that line. You start from zero, right? But you can make a transition, and it does take a little bit of time. Now it depends on, again, what's your level of thinking. So this person, was thinking, okay, I want to build corporate sales, and he had seen this. Okay, so his wife was in corporate sales. He saw this as well. He gave it a shot, right? There was a lot of programs that we had to break along the way, right? So he was thinking, okay, all my business is going to come from this one place. The second place, people I know. But then, when we got him to get away from that and say, hey, open yourself up. Don't just get stuck. Don't get stuck, right? It's the worst place you want to be, because imagine trying to hold on to something and trying to run. As soon as you hold on to something, you're going to get stuck somewhere, right? It's going to be a lot harder to move. So when we stay open, now you're free, right? That freedomness is, we got to shake it off, right? So again, when we start becoming ourselves and start opening up and start trusting, and this, again, going back to faith, right? If you can see this thing happening for you, it'll happen. But you have to open up, and you have to be open. And when you start opening up, again, it took this guy, about 2 years, but ending 2024, again, he left a six-figure job to come and try this. But when he did, his last year income was $424,000.
Wow.
And that's unlocking and he's only at 10-15% of his potential.
Wow.
Only at 10 to 15%, right? Long way to go if he wants to, right? But this is just showing him, hey, this is what was always in you. And again, being stuck in an HR job that didn't really suit your skill sets, and he knew that there's more inside of him.
Very impressive story there. Let's flip it though. What are some of the mistakes new sales professionals make when they're starting out? What are some of those mistakes that you see sure regularly?
Yeah, so the most common one is they think they have to be a salesperson.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
they turn into what do they do when they think they have to be a salesperson? I bet you they start acting like a used car salesman, that image that you get, right? That kind of thing.
Oh man, they think they have to hype everything up. They think they have to, oh man, and some people call it sales breath, right? It's like this, it's a different way of communicating, but again, so we always try to take those layers back, right? And say, hey man, just be yourself, just have a conversation. Right? Make it conversational. Actually think about the process fully. Think it all the way through. What are you trying to do? Who are we trying to serve? Right? So really, really dumb it down. Because again, sales doesn't need to be complicated, right? We don't try to teach on scripts either. We try to say, hey, use your words. What words are you comfortable using? Again, try to do something that fits into your wheelhouse and see if that works first. And then we'll start tweaking it, right? Oh, hey, maybe you're pitching to the wrong person when you start calling, right?
Yeah.
You're pitching to the secretary. Hold on, why don't we understand people's positions first, right? To see who they are before we start pitching. And so, there's a lot of nervousness that comes associated with sales. And so what we typically say is, the first couple months is just a learning curve, right? So it's just a matter of saying, okay, hey, let me just try this. Let me know that it's a process. Let me get the jitters out. And people that are really good at customer service have no problem doing sales because they understand the person, right? And they understand, okay, hey, you know what? Let me listen to the person. Let me get some insight from what they actually want. And then let me, I understand my product or service well enough that I know what to offer them, right? And it's just problem solving. So, I mean, you don't want to complicate things that are easy. It's like asking a friend to go to dinner with you. You're just asking them to go for dinner. You don't have to make a whole story for it, right?
Right. Good point. That's a good point. Hey, I want you to read that. We're well over an hour now. That's crazy. Victoria has a comment here for you. Why don't you read one of your fans' messages here?
Thank you for bringing Daman on. Such an inspiring mission. Thank you so much, Victoria. Appreciate that.
How about this one? Branson made that banging's coming on now, so you can't hear it, right? Can you hear it?
I can hear a little bit, yeah. So it's okay.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Well, hopefully
it's
not going to get too bad. Hey, this is live, man. I said out of the gate, although we're normally not this horrific, but
that's okay.
But, we're aesthetically imperfect. So Branson asked you that question earlier about being new into sales and that. And he's obviously very interested in what you're saying. Why don't you read this one too?
Free mentorship at scale is powerful. This is needed more than ever. And like I said, it's building communities. Thank you for the love. And that's all we're trying to do is just spread the love, right? Like how do we main thing is how do we just pick each other up? Right. And I just don't want people feeling like they're stuck in life. Right. And that's always just goes back to that moment, right? When I felt stuck and I felt like I didn't really have a choice. And, sometimes like same thing when we have bad experiences in life or something comes up, we just don't want to feel like we're stuck or be in that position where we're living paycheck to paycheck. And then we have to take care of a family member or we have to take care of a loved one. Or anything can come up in life, right? Where again, our finances are tested. And I don't think that should happen to anyone, honestly, right? And we're, again, grateful to live in an amazing country where we have social services available to us. But that, on the other side of that, again, it's that feeling people have. And so as long as people don't feel stuck, they're going to be a lot happier. Hope everything's okay there.
Whoa, did you hear that?
There's some major construction going on.
Yeah, I thought something fell in. I thought something fell in inside here. There, it sounded like a bomb going off. Sorry about that one. It's funny because your approach, mentorship approach here, your journey here, your approach is quite interesting because we've had different mentorship programs and, we talked to, this is our 470th show in that year and a half. And so we talked to a lot of people on this show, obviously. And what you're talking about now is next level because your lens, right? Your focus is on mentoring, but in a way that is outwardly bound. In other words, you're teaching people the skill sets that we're talking about here, but you're also teaching the approach and the mindset that needs to be altered because I doubt most people have the mindsets that you're talking about now. And I got to call out Bradley here because I made him a promise months and months ago because he comes on the show periodically. And I said, anytime you're on, I'm going to give you a shout out, Bradley. Bradley Pomp, I'm giving you a shout out. What makes sales the fastest path to upward mobility? And I'll add to that. I think it's also, isn't it the most, it's the most economically viable business in the world. If you're a salesperson, you're typically in the upper top in income. You know, it's one of the highest paying businesses, right?
And again, it's
being a salesperson.
For sure. And it's an option, right? Again, this is just one option out of many, right? You can get a good skill, trade. It can also pay you really well. Sales as an option, right, is always there because every business needs sales to survive. It's an important engine piece for every single business. Otherwise, a business cannot survive with no money.
No.
So sales can be writing grants and getting money from government to come in. Sales can be so vast, right? Sales can be, again, imagery. Sales can be emails, writing. Sales can be podcasting, right? Sales can be anything that you want it to be. It's communication, influence. It's a different way. It's a different lens to see things. So there's so many things that you can do. You can make connections, right, with other people to help out in a business, right? So there's these connector pieces, middlemen in so many different areas that is also sales, right? So again, sales is so vast, and it's such a piece in every single company or business or charity, or again, like everyone has a sales component into their business. And the other thing too is when we talk about, you know, the upward trajectory, sales is one of those things that can give you untapped, you know, earning potential. When again, you know, a salaried person is going to stay pretty steady, where that commission base comes in is now you're able to compound, you know, whether it's 25% a year, 100% a year, it's untapped. And so that's the thing that you want to learn is, okay, well, hey, we all have untapped potential within inside of us. And so if you feel that you could, you know, you want more, you can. It's just a mindset. And that's it. And we just want to show people that, again, those opportunities are every place around us. And, you know, again, once you realize that, now it's a choice whether you want to do it or not. But, you know, if you get exposed to it, now you're comfortable, you know, whether it's going back to being an employee, right? You know, employee is a great place. There's not much headache. You don't have to worry about how to generate business. You know, there's peace of mind that comes with that. And so some people enjoy that. You know, sales isn't meant for everybody. And so the only thing that we're trying to do is, again, is just show you that there isn't options in life, right? And it could be molded to the way that you want it to be molded to, if you're willing to just stretch yourself and learn something a little bit newer. And so again, opening up to the possibility of it is again, the main purpose of what we want to do is just help people expand their mind. You know, there's so much so much opportunity in the places that we live, and even around the world for anyone to you know, achieve whatever they want, right? And that's just the thing, is just putting it back over here and saying, hey, I'm in control of my life. I don't want someone else to be, right? And that's it. I'm not sure if you're still there, Rodd, but yeah.
Oh, dang it, dude.
Yeah.
I am so off today. I'm sitting there talking to you, and I didn't even realize I wasn't on until you said that. So okay. There is so much opportunity today, and there's so much what you're saying about the sales environment, and it's very fulfilling. Speaking of sales, Matt Walker here, the fixer, I told you about the machinery business that I built up over 30 years. He was one of my bigger customers. You ever heard of ITW Hi-Cone?
No, I haven't.
ITW. ITW's multi-billion company. It's huge, gigantic in aerospace. You've heard of ITW, I'm sure. But Hi-Cone is their. You ever get like a 6-pack of soda or beer or whatever, and they have that plastic 6-pack
Okay,
thing?
Yeah.
they make all of them basically around the world. And he was one of my customers, and he's that kind of guy too. Matt, if you're still on listening, by the way, he said, "Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good topic today. Good topics today." He lives in Illinois, and he is that kind of personality. He's in more of a maintenance and operations role, but he does so much sales day in and day out. Just in the meetings, you could talk to him, and he does that. He has just that conversational piece, and it's just about confidence at some point, because communication, the words are only 8% of the communication, right? It's the inflection, it's the tonality, it's the talking quiet so people listen in deeper, or bringing a point to there's that kind of skill set that kind of brings that next level into sales. And he's definitely in that role, or that ability of skill sets. Clive, are remote sales roles realistic in logistics? I personally know that is a case, because my daughter-in-law, the mother of my oldest granddaughter, who does a show with me on Saturday, by the way, on Saturdays, called Emma Lynn, Insights and Straight Talk with Emma Lynn and Grandpa Ron. It's an awesome show. It's the word team, voices at the table. That's where that started out of. Anyway, she does logistics sales from her home.
Yeah. I mean, it's around the world now. So I mean, there's remote teams, again, all in every continent that are servicing North America right now. So I mean, if it can be done from anywhere in the world, and we had people doing it from like Northern Africa that were doing sales, people from Dubai. We had, I think, 65 different countries that we were teaching to at one point.
Wow.
So again, that's another reason why we opened the platform, because it's hard to do one-on-one with that many different countries. But it was, so we said, okay, well, here, let's just create a platform where we could just put the content on there and hopefully get them to interact. And, again, shorter sessions, right? It was hard to take them through the entire journey. But for us, it's like, how do you get that start? How do you get that initial conversation going? And then how do we pair you up with, good employers, right? What's the right questions to ask? Again, because employers, a lot of them don't know how to do this either. Right?
No.
So we're educating both sides, right? And we're trying to teach you, the verbiage or the communication.
I love this, man.
To get into it. And so, again, talking about that little plastic thing that goes on the 6-pack. So again, what we do is say, okay, well, where does that plastic come from? Okay, plastic resins. It can come from plastic recyclers. Okay, let's talk about the different chemicals that are involved in that process. So again, let's go into the different compounds to be able to create something and understand the different pieces of it and the components of it. And that's where logistics kind of comes in, where we get exposed to a lot of different industries. And I've been exposed to, again, even in aerospace, right? So we know how a lot of the aerospace works. And we worked with companies like Boeing, and there's so many different other, smaller companies that are kind of branched out from there that just do certain maintenance, that only do engine maintenance, that only do, the seats or the seat belts or, whatever else. Very small components that you can start looking into and the different part of that. So we try to get you a holistic picture of, okay, if this is what you're looking at, let's take a look at it from a larger perspective, right? Like, for example, when it came to COVID, a lot of people are like, how come people just don't stay home for 2 weeks? I'm like, if they stay home for 2 weeks, we're not going to eat, right?
I didn't hear that. Sorry. We're not going to what? 2 weeks? We're not going to what?
We're not going to have any food left, right? The supply chains are going to be dwindled down to nothing, because everyone's going to go to the stores, take everything, and there's nothing there to replenish.
Think toilet paper.
Yeah, there's going to be no toilet paper, right? So,
hey, you know why there was a shortage of toilet paper? Do you know there's an actual reason why? You know why? It's side point, but do you know why?
Too many people went camping, and that was the first thing that they thought about was take the toilet paper.
Close. Now think about how toilet paper is made, right? For businesses, it's the big, right? The big round rolls. Right. Even
prior to that is the pulp, right? So the tree, pulp, the paper roll, do the toilet paper.
Well, what happened is COVID hit, bam, and they didn't adjust their production. So all that paper that was being made for companies was stockpiling up because no companies were buying more toilet paper because no employees were there. But they didn't shift it over to the home ownership. And so everybody was buying, all the people that would be using it at work would be using it at home now, right? So that shift, there was no weird, you remember there was all this weird stuff that people were freaking out, the world is ending, toilet paper is gone. Well, it was just production. It's just a logistics and production issue.
100%.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
Crazy. So what advice would you give somebody feeling stuck in their career? And I obviously that's this question should have been earlier up, Matthew. You should have asked it earlier, but because we've kind of gone through this. If you're feeling stuck and you have options, you have choices, you have the ability, Matthew, to go visit Daman and his team, his partners and his team, and start a process to where you make a mind shift, and all of a sudden now you're not stuck because you have choices, right?
100%. There's so many different businesses that you can potentially reach out to. You can structure it the way that you want, even as an employee, right? You can structure things the way that you want them to be structured, and again, it's just that feeling of being unstuck. The feeling of being stuck is when you feel like you have no choice. And when you realize that, so when you realize that you just have choices, then you feel, again, all that burden just takes off of you. And then you could be in the same position, but as long as you have that feeling of being unstuck, now you're not stressed. You're not feeling that emotion that's associated with that. And so you get into acceptance. You're not letting these things rattle you. You're like, oh, hey, it's a choice to be here. It's a choice to be doing what I'm doing. And as long as you know it's a choice, you're okay. And that's all we want to pretty much, let people know.
That was bad timing. You did that perfectly. You gave me a signal. As long as you have a choice, you're okay. And right then I clicked to move over. Sorry about that. Let's go back. We've got one more question I'm going to get to before we kind of start to wind it down here. We're at an hour and 20 minutes already, and they're starting to go nuts. So,
and maybe one more thing, Rodd, as well is when you do watch the episodes, your mind will be expanded. And that's what I would say would be a first step, is just expand the mind a little bit. Be open to just receiving some information to come in. And
while you're talking, can you put in the private chat that's on your right there?
Okay, chat with everyone in the studio.
Is that what it says? Is that what it says on your side? Chat with everybody in the studio.
Sure.
For me, it says private chat. But anyway, would you put in your contact information in there while you're talking? Well, actually, while I'm talking right now, go ahead and put it in there, because I want to put your contact information at the bottom of the questions and comments, because you know how it goes. You've done podcasts. You've done a ton of them on the logistics shipping side, you said. And in there, we've got 400 people on now. An hour from now, somebody's going to come and look at the show and say, damn, I wish I was on live. I would have asked Daman this. Well, now they can go contact you directly. They leave comments on the show itself, but I don't check that every day, and I don't want to, nothing personal, but I don't want to pay that for it. I'll pay something else for it. Otherwise, I'll be doing emails all day long, sending them to you. So Jim Carrey, while that, okay, I see it there. It's there now. What role does community play in long-term successes? What does the community play in this?
Yeah,
if anything.
Yeah, community plays a big part of it. It doesn't make you feel like you're alone in a situation. And if people can't understand what you're going through, they can't really help you. And so that's one thing that, again, we want to create is a community to be able to just give you that extra little support when people are going through the same thing and going through the same problems, and to be able to overcome some of those situations together. Community is huge for mental health, right? And when I gave that example of that person that came in from HR into logistics, you know, they had a supporting wife, a wife that understood what the roadmap looked like. And so a lot of people will say, hey, you're nuts for leaving a job that paid you 6 figures to go start for free, right? And you know, to a lot of people, that just doesn't make sense logically, right? But to an entrepreneur, you know, they already know the long-term roadmap. And when they know that roadmap, they understand that, hey, you know what, a little bit of risk here versus the upside on the reward is worth it. And so
it's probably kind of attractive to an entrepreneur mindset. I mean, especially if they've done it once before, because it's not boring.
Yeah. And that's why they say you have to talk to somebody that's done it versus, you know, the other people in life that are just gonna maybe mention something. Like, again, you know, Rodd, having that conversation with you, why can't we go back to being an employee? Right? Because you've been there. You've been there. But you said, okay, well, under these circumstances, so again, just being able to teach that, hey, you know what? Well, what opportunities do you have at your current, you know, place that you work at? Have you ever had this conversation with your manager or your boss? Right? You know, what are you looking for really? And sometimes, you know, you may be able to find, you know, something within the same organization that you're already in. But, you know, again, someone just hasn't maybe opened it to you, or someone never knew that you were interested.
Right.
Right. So I know for me, when I was at work too, you know, you would just do the job that you were assigned and you didn't know how to ask. Right. Oh, hey, can I try a sales position? Oh, hey, is there any other opportunities? Or how do I even recognize opportunity? Right. So a lot of people just don't know. They're just, we're you know, I was programmed in a way too, where my boss is going to dictate how much I make. If they like what I'm doing, then they'll give me a not really ask for one. I'm just going to, you know, again, I waited that first year and, you know, I said, yeah, I didn't save enough for my schooling and I had to make an ask and said, hey, can I get a raise? Or I'm going to have to just find something that can help me meet my goal. Yeah.
It goes back to education, and what you're doing is obviously, I'm Captain Obvious right now. What you're doing is important and matters in the world today, because people don't have agency, you know, necessarily within themselves, and that's where a mentor comes in and builds that. And sometimes people need that. I think there's very few people that just naturally, you know, don't panic about, you know, when you're living, and 25% of Americans live check to check, you said.
25% household. But
what's that?
25% of households, but 46 to 61% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, it's 41 to, oh, okay.
46 to 61, 62%, depending on which
so a lot,
you look at.
So a lot of those, right. That numbers. But a lot of those households then have 2 incomes and still living check to check, it sounds like. If you do the numbers real quick, you know.
Yeah, depending on how they did their studies, yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. That is bizarre. Hey, you've got 400 people here, man. You've held them for an hour and a half now. And so obviously this is an important subject and an interesting subject. Even some of my old customers are coming on, and obviously maybe not so excited about the positions that they're in. But before I throw you in the green room, you're a big guy, so I don't mean that literally. I mean that figuratively. Before we do that, and I close out. Why don't you give a final? You know, what do you want to leave people with? I've got your website on there. That's all correct, right? Logistics Sales.
Correct. Yeah.
And then I'll wrap up and I'll meet you back in the green room. We'll talk about things. We should do more of these shows. If you're up for it. I don't know if you enjoyed the
love to. Part of our mission and whatever we could do to help. And if we have an audience, 100%, right? That's the main thing. If we don't have an audience, we don't have a show, right? So, you know, for us, it's like, I don't want to be talking to a wall. So, you know, anyone that we could try to help, and you know, that's the goal.
That's beautiful, man. Well, hey, give everybody a big wave. I'll come back and hit you up in a second. We'll chat a little bit before it gets too crazy in here, and I wrap up. Why don't you give everybody a big wave, and I'll see you on the other side.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, same thing. If you want to take a look at some of the episodes, take a look at them. Give us your feedback. I mean, we're still open to change. We're still trying to figure out the best ways to be able to help people and give them that boost that they need to be able to hit their next levels. So whatever questions you have, throw them at us. And again, I'd love to do some one-on-ones with some of the people watching. If you're stuck and you're looking to say, okay, what are my opportunities? The only thing I request is just take a look at a few of the episodes just to kind of get an idea. And then anything after that, whatever you need help on, I'm here, and my team is here too. And the other thing too is our team is so humble and so sweet that a lot of people that we typically work with don't speak a lot of English either. And so they're extremely sensitive.
That's good to know. That's good to know. So what languages do you typically see?
Well, mostly English, right? So we're still speaking in English, but again, we're just being more receptive to like, okay, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter how you're communicating, right? As long as you can communicate with us, right? Again, we're very open. Like you don't have, like the sales persona. You don't have to. There's no barriers here, and that's what we just want people to know, right? Like don't think like trying to access any one of us is a barrier. Right? We all kind of have this nurturing nature where we just want to be able to help people. And that's the only reason that we're doing this program. And that's the only reason we're doing it for free, right? We don't have any expectations. We just want to say, hey, what can we do as an individual to be able to help other people as well? And if, industry has already helped us, right? And that's the thing too, is if we've received help. Some of the people that I've done sales with have given me opportunities. And those relationships mean the world to me because they trusted me. Right? They put their faith in me. They put their business in me. And so how do I repay that? People gave me opportunities. I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have opportunities. And so, it's that whole thing about, how can we raise each other up? How can we, help each other in any which way that we can? How can I repay some of the help that I've received through my life? Right? And that's it. Right. So we want to, again, be able to pay that back forward. And yeah, whatever comes out of this comes out of it. And, as many people as we can help in the meantime is what we want to do. And we just, again, want to just build a good community so that the feeling that you walk away with is that, hey, someone was there to help me lift up when I needed it. And when you're strong enough, lift somebody else up. And that's it.
That's beautiful, man. Give everybody a big wave. I'll throw you in the green room, and I'll see you in a second, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
That was beautiful, man. Sorry, well, I did get the thank you. I did click it just a touch too quick, but they did the thank you there, Daman. And before we wrap today, I want to land something here that's practical. What you heard from Daman Grewal and the work he and his partners and team are doing through logisticsales.com wasn't about shortcuts, right? It wasn't about hustle, and it wasn't about waiting for permission. That's the big one right there. It was about agency, about recognizing that most people aren't behind, they're just underexposed. Hang on a second. I'm sorry. I gotta let this hammering go down before I can't even hear myself talk there. So, all that in paying it forward and being part of a program that lifts up and helps people in their day-to-day lives is critical and it's important. And it's the kind of conversations we look for and search out for and go after each and every day here on the show, along with our partners like the Main City Library, which today is a very difficult place to be. But the partners that we have, please laugh. I mean, that's a new way of agile thinking, agile learning, and a lot of what Daman was talking about today. So it's if you're a business, if you're an operation, if you're a place that's looking and you're part of the team, and you say, hey, that's kind of how we want to show up. We do have some limited sponsorship openings that we've opened up. They're limited because we don't want to take away from that message, and we don't want to water that message down too much. But if you're aligned in our messages, reach out to me. Give me a holler. Let us know what you think. And I had a much more of an ending close, but at this point, stay on after the outro video we're going to do here in a second. Stay on afterwards. You guys know I always do something goofy, and I'm going to try and do something goofy again. And in the meantime, this is Insights and Straight Talk. I'm your host, Rodd Duff, and we want to thank you for being part of the conversation, part of our community. 400 people that are still on listening to me blabber away. I appreciate that. I'm Rodd Duff.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.